All right, friends, Ryan Dorn here, and welcome to class number 1 of 5, and this is Getting the Meeting. Notice that meeting, the, is in all caps, because if you're like me, selling on the street every day, you recognize getting meetings today is harder than ever before. Do you agree or disagree? So you make a lot of phone calls, you send a lot of emails, don't hear back from people, so getting the meeting is mission critical and is important. So let's walk through this. But first and foremost, I need you to make note of 3 simple things. Number 1, prospecting is an important piece of the media sales business. Number 2, you're going to need to be amazing at hosting sales calls. We're not going to be able to do this old school stuff where we walk in and say, tell me about your goals, tell me about your needs. We're going to have to be better than that. And then the third piece is retention. If I was to ask you this, send me your retention program. Email it to me. Could you do it? Here's the 3 phases of the media sales business: prospecting, in-progress sales, which is great meetings, and then retention. We're going to focus on all 3 of these, but in this first class, it's getting the meeting. All right, make note of this. Pull out your study guide. So if you're watching along, obviously you are, on the right side of your screen is where you can download the study guides, the slides, the templates, and everything else. Now, if you don't see what you need, drop me an email, ryan@360adsales.com. All right, let's walk through these 6 steps. Number 1, defining the perfect prospect. Did you write it down? On the study guide, print it out, friends. Define the perfect prospect. So where does this come from and why is it so important? If we don't define the perfect prospect, what we're doing is we're doing things randomly. We're driving around the town and seeing a business that's open and going, oh, there's a new prospect for me. Or if you're in the B2B space, you're at a trade show and you see a new company and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a new prospect for me. Is it? Is it not? What's the perfect prospect? For me, I want to look at your prospect list. I'm going to pull up your CRM. I want to look at that prospect list. Everybody on the list should be there for a purpose. You want to prospect with a passion, but then prospect with a purpose. So you've got 3 categories of advertisers. Whether you're in the media, magazine business, newspaper, TV business, doesn't matter. You've got 3 pools, if you will, to fish from. All right, minnows. Minnows are those small clients. What does a minnow mean to you? Okay, a minnow to me is going to be an advertiser that can't spend more than $5 grand a year. That's going to be a minnow for me. All right, I want you to jot down on your piece of paper. What's a minnow to you? In your business, whether you're in radio, your TV, newspapers, whatever, what's a minnow mean to you? Jot that down. Then go to the complete opposite side, whales. Whales are big accounts. For me, a whale is going to spend over $20,000 a year with me in one of my medias that I sell. And then the C.O.D is going to be somewhere in the middle. Someone that's going to spend, $7 grand to $15 grand. That's going to be that C.O.D. C.O.D, the most commonly eaten whitefish in the world. So you got minnows, little fish. Okay, let me ask you this. How many people would agree with me? A minnow client is a bigger pain in the rear than a whale. How many people would agree with that? Okay, they always are. They take more time. You've got to babysit them. You've got to hold their hand. They're just a pain in the tail. So why is it that when I work with sales reps just like all of you, you have so many minnows on your prospect list? You have so many minnows on your account list. The reason is because minnows are a little bit easier to work with. Minnows will often call you back. Usually they'll give you a meeting. And what you do is you become a fisherman of minnows. And when minnows do, minnows bite your ankles. They bite at your ankles. Eventually, they're going to bite your feet right off. You won't even be able to walk around anymore. You're going to hate this business because you have so many minnows. So let me ask you this. This is how it looks with most companies when I start. So I'm going to sit down with you. We're working together. I'm going to coach you. You show me your prospect list, and typically 60% of that list is going to be minnows. Bad. 30% C.O.D, only 10% whales. Now let me ask you this question. Here we go. Little trick for you here. It's a trick question, so be careful. 60-30-10 is not a good way to build your business. So what should the number be? So on your piece of paper, I want you to jot that down. What should the number be? It's not 60-30-10, okay? What should the percentage be on your prospect list? Because who you prospect is who you will become. If you prospect minnows, you'll be a fisherman of minnows. If you prospect whales, whales are harder to close. I'm telling you, you're going to need an assistant. because whales are a big pain too. So what should the percentage look like? Did you jot it down? Okay, if you didn't, you're a bad student. Jot it down. All right, I work with hundreds, if not thousands, of media sales reps, just like you. Here's what I've determined. Successful reps in the media business, this is how their portfolio breaks down. 20, 60, 20. That's how it breaks down. 20% of their client list is small clients. 60% is that whitefish right in the middle, very commonly eaten whitefish. About 20% are whales. Oh, wait a minute, Ryan. I need 60% whales. I got to make my Mercedes payment. Okay, no you don't. No you don't. Whether you're driving a Honda or you're driving a Mercedes, you're driving a Maserati, you've got to think of your prospect list. Remember, this class is getting the meeting. The meeting. You've got to think of your prospect list as how do you want your business to become. So if you're going to have a business of all whales, you're going to need a bigger staff, you're going to need more support, it's going to take a long time to close those clients. So because of that, you're probably never going to make your monthly goal. Cod, right in the middle, that's the most commonly eaten fish. That's where we want to focus. If minnows have become your bread and butter business, it's because you've let them become your bread and butter business. So as I'm building my prospect list, I'm always monitoring it to make sure that I've got a 20, 60, 20 mix in place. And if you don't, what you're going to find is over the course of time, you're either going to become a minnow farmer or you're going to become very, very frustrated because the whales, wow, they take a ton of time. And what happens when you lose a whale? When you lose a big account, what happens to your life? Man, let me tell you something. It is a real kick in the rear end. It's bad. So if we lose a few whales, it happens. If we lose some minnows, it happens. Cod, we can usually keep those people happy. They need marketing. They need what we have to offer. So when you're building your prospect list, you've got to follow the 20, 60, 20 rule. Now, jot that down and remember it, because when we talk about time management, you're going to hear 20, 60, 20 again. 20, 60, 20. It's the secret to prospecting. It's also the secret to time management as well. All right, so if we're going to add somebody to our list, step number one, again, look back on your sheet, defining the perfect prospect. We need a litmus test. I don't put people randomly on my prospect list. I just don't do that. Randomness doesn't bring anything good to your life. Think about this. What are 5 things in your life that happen because of random occurrences? 5 things. In your total existence, what are 5 things that have happened in your life randomly that have been good? Maybe a random act of kindness? Maybe. Maybe you found 20 bucks. By the way, did you find it? Did you give it back to the person? Maybe you found 20 bucks. Maybe you won the lottery. Now, if you won the lottery, you probably wouldn't be watching this video unless you spent it all. I mean, random falling in love, maybe. Somebody the other day said, well, I kind of got pregnant randomly. Okay, you don't become pregnant randomly, okay? There's books on this, all right? Random occurrences, quite honestly, friends, it doesn't work out. So here's my litmus test. I don't put somebody on my prospect list unless, number one, they're already doing something in the market. Meaning they already believe in advertising. It's so much easier to convince somebody to switch medias than to convince somebody to advertise. So much easier. Number 2, they show signs of need. I like advertisers that are doing new things, like they've got Google alerts, they're constantly doing new promotions, new publicity, they're doing new things. They've got specials in the B2B business, they're launching new products. Those are people that are primed for advertising. Number 3, love people that have a budget. Who's with me on that? Do you love people with a budget, especially a big budget. Like, what's your budget? We're going to work with you on that here coming up in our 3rd class, because one of the questions I don't ever ask anymore is tell me what your budget is. Instead, I'm going to tell them what their budget needs to be. Oh, some of you want to skip to that class now, don't you? That's class number 3. All right, number 4, new products, new services, people that are doing things. Number 5, I don't put you on my prospect list typically unless you have a marketing director. Why do I love marketing directors? I like working with companies that have a marketing director because if they have a marketing director, it usually means they have a marketing budget. Okay. Now, what's always funny to me is when I call on a marketing director and they say to me, "Oh, Ryan, you know, I love advertising, but I don't have any budget." And I just want to ask them one time, if you're a marketing director with no budget, what do you do all day? What do you actually do all day? Number 6, I want to avoid hard sells. These are people that hate newspapers, hate magazines, hate radio, hate TV. When you call them, I will never advertise, don't call me again. See, so many of us as salespeople, we have the mentality of a serial killer. We really do. We stalk our clients. We take notes of our clients. We're like, I'm going to get them. Okay, if someone says to you, do not call on me ever again, what you need to do is get out of that serial killer stalker mindset. Move on, friends. Move on. Avoid hard sells. There's so many other people that need your services. Number 7, I love this one. I'm always looking for people that are an industry leader or are fighting to be an industry leader, because then I can use ego to drive the conversation forward. Let me give you an example. If I know someone wants to be the #1 restaurant in town, or if I know somebody wants to be the #1 medical manufacturer in the business, I can use that ego to drive the sales conversation forward. It's one of the reasons that I love that kind of stuff. I love those people. All right, now, let me ask you, what is your litmus test? Or do you randomly put people on your prospect list? Stop. Stop doing that. Stop adding people randomly to your prospect list. Prospect with a purpose, and I'm going to teach you in a second here, prospect with a passion. If you want to get the meeting, you need to define the perfect prospect. Don't just add people randomly to the mix. Okay, is your brain swelling? They always ask, people ask me all the time, hey Ryan, why did you, when you started your company, why did you call it Brain Swell Media? It's kind of a quick, funny story. I was in Austin, Texas, speaking at a leadership conference, and I looked around the room at this group of publishers, and all of their heads looked like they were going to explode. And I said in that day, if I ever start my own company, I'm going to call it Brain Swell Media, because it looks like your brains are about to explode. And that's where it all started. Don't get overwhelmed. We're going to take a break here in a few minutes. And what I want to share with you is something vividly important. You need to absorb all of this. You need to put it all into practice. Remember something, $500 million of revenue has been impacted by these types of training programs. You can be a part of that $500 million. All right, step number 2, and growing, $500 million growing. All right, step number 2, creating the perfect top 20 list, including non-creepy research. All right, are you following along? On your study guide, second set of blanks. Create the perfect top 20 list, including non-creepy research. All right, those of you that have read my book, Selling Backwards, you remember I used to teach a program called the Big 50. Okay, the 50 was too much for most of you. I thought everybody was an overachiever like me, okay? And 50 was not a big deal. I realized it was too much. And so that's where the top 20 list came from. Also, recognize that there's math behind the top 20 list. All right, here's what I'm doing. I'm working 20 prospects to get 4 really, really great meetings. I'm hoping on those 4 meetings to get buy-in, at least I want to think about it, out of 3 of those 4 meetings. So about 60, 70, some odd % of those meetings, I'm hoping someone will say, I need to think about it. Now, I'd love for them to buy on the spot. It doesn't happen as often as it used to. I'm hoping then to close 2 brand new deals every 30-day cycle. So let me walk you through this. Let me explain to you how this works. I'm working 20 to get 4 great meetings, to get buy-in on 3 proposals. Where does the 20 come from? Let me break it down for you. If your goal for a particular month or your goal for a particular issue is $20,000, okay? If the average deal that you sell is, say, $2,000 a month, that means you need to close 10 total deals. You need to close 10 total deals. Make sense? Now, unless you close 100% of the deals, when you go out, if you close 100% of the time, you need to write a book, okay? You need to record videos. You need to go on tour, okay? No one does that. I'm pretty good, and I'm still closing 40, 50-ish% of the deals that I present. So if my goal is $20,000 and my average deal is $2,000, I need to close 10 deals to make my goal. Well, if I close 50%, that means I need 20 meetings in order to get to goal. This is essentially where that top 20 list comes from. Now, listen, guys, don't get lost in the math. Just recognize that you're going to need to be working at least a list of 20, at least, just to get to 2 closed deals, much less 10 closed deals in a 30-day period. Wrap your brain around what's called the law of large numbers. What's the law of large numbers? Essentially, not technically, essentially what it means is the more calls you make, the greater your chance of getting a meeting. The more meetings that you have, the greater your chance of closing a sale. We all recognize it. It's sort of like golf. The more you play, the luckier you get, okay? The more you do something, typically the better you get at it. So I'm working a top 20 list, and I'm doing that to hopefully get 4 out of those 20 to grant me a meeting. When I'm on those meetings, I'm hoping to get buy-in from at least 3 of those people. At least either I'm going to buy or I need to think about it. And I'm hoping to close 2 brand new deals at a minimum every 30-day cycle. Now, I can hear some of you through the screen. You're saying, Ryan, 2 deals? I can't feed my family on 2 deals. Okay, neither can I, friends. I can't either. So how does it work? If you closed 2 new deals in January and you signed them on a 12-month contract or a 6-month contract, that means in the month of February, you start the month with 2 deals already on the books. Then you're going to sell 2 more deals. That's going to give you a total of 4 in February. Let's just say then in March, you close 2 more. You're going to take the 4, the 2 from January, the 2 from February. Now you've got the 2 from March. So you're up to 6. You can see how this would compound all throughout the year. And if you retain those clients for a lifetime, guess what? Right now, I'm not worried about my goal. I'm not worried about making budget. I'm always over. Why am I always over? Because I work an active top 20 list and I'm using the law of large numbers to my advantage. All right, this on the screen here, this is called your call to close ratio. So what you want to do is jot down your goal. Then you want to recognize what's your average deal. What's your close rate? About 50%, 30%? If your close rate is like 10%, friends, pay attention. You can do better than that. Probably something's off. Watching these videos is going to help. You're going to need about 20 meetings in order for you to make goal. You're going to probably need to work a bigger list even than 20. So recognize that. Okay, so what you see on your screen here is an example of a top 20 list. Let's look at it. Let's look at it together. All right, so what I don't want you to misunderstand is that I only call these clients, for example, on Monday. I only call these clients on Tuesday. I only call these clients on Wednesday. I don't want you to misunderstand the concept. What I've done is I've just laid out for you 5 days in the week. Okay, there's 5 days in the week, and you've got 4 clients per day. So because of that, that is 5 times 4. My friends, help me out. What's 5 times 4? That'd be 20. Okay, if you didn't say 20, I hope you're better at calculating your commission. Recognize you have 5 days in the week, 4 clients a day. My friends, that is not very many people to prospect. Come on, if you can't make time to prospect 4 brand new people every day, come on. You need to go to the next video, time management for sales success. Okay, we're gonna help you with that. Remember I promised you 174 hours. I'm gonna save you a year. For some of you, that's like 10 grand. You're gonna owe me like 10,000 bucks. Okay, so I've got on my list, don't worry about who's listed here. I've got my clients listed. And here's the important part of the top 20 list. Here, we've got Diamond on Wednesday, my 3rd person I'm going to call on. Once I get a meeting with Diamond, someone else is going to go on this list. This is not a zero-sum game, meaning we're not trying to go from 20 down to 0. That's not our goal. Our goal is to always have 20. If you're actively selling, it doesn't matter if you're selling washing machines, TV advertising, or magazine advertising, you need a minimum of a top 20 list. I teach it all of the time. The 20 list will always be 20. So if I look at this and I see Mercedes, okay, here on my list. Once I get a meeting with Mercedes, they come off of my list. I put somebody else on the list. The goal of this list, the goal is that you'll actively have 20 at all times. So recognize if I get a meeting, for example, with Acme, okay, if I get that meeting with Acme, what I need to be paying attention to is recognizing who's going to replace Acme. If they come off the list, if I get a meeting with them, the top 20 list is not about closing business. Listen carefully. Just in case you're checking your email now, stop, pay attention, right? The top 20 list is about getting a meeting with somebody. You're working the top 20 list to get a meeting. You're not working the top 20 list to close deals, you're working to get a meeting. Break this down into bite-sized chunks. You've heard the whole old joke. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, okay? You just break this down into simple chunks. Take the elephant-sized task and break it down into bite-sized chunks. The 20 list is always going to be a 20 list. All right, now let's just say as an example that you're brand new to the business. You might have a top 100 list. Now, you're probably not going to have a top 200 list, but even if you're a veteran in the business, veterans, pay attention. You're not going to have a top 10 list. You're almost always going to be working at least a list of 20. Now recognize these are people that are brand new or people that haven't run with us in a very, very long time. And that's important to recognize. Now, you want to back these folks up in your CRM. You want to have some good notes. You want to back up your prospects with non-creepy research. Okay, so what do I mean by non-creepy research? Non-creepy research is research you can find online. Here's what's creepy. And there's people on the internet teaching this crap all of the time. Creepy is, I'm prospecting a guy named Bob. I go to his Instagram page and see that he's into soccer, and I see that he went on vacation, he went on a cruise. And people are teaching this. I reach out to him and say, oh, Bob, hey, man, I'm a soccer fan too. I saw that you went on a cruise. That's awesome, man. Okay, that is creepy beyond creepy. And people are teaching this. You know what someone said to me not that long ago? They're like, Ryan, you're 46 years old. You're practically an old man. I'm like, okay, stop. First of all, I'm not an old man. I don't have that much gray hair. Quit. He said, if you want to connect with the millennials, what you need to do is get on their Instagram page, man, and become their friend. So what I did is I sat down with a group of millennials that I trust. I said, all right, friends, you know that I love you because I love a millennial salesperson. They're just like a Jack Russell that you're wrestling with a sock. Millennials, once millennials sink their teeth into something, they are unfreaking stoppable. I said, my friends, millennials, if I go on your Instagram page and try to be your friend, is that something that's cool? They're like, no, you're an old man. No, they didn't say that. They said, no, that's creepy, dude. Don't be doing that stuff. Non-creepy research is going onto LinkedIn and recognizing that you've got people on LinkedIn that have put professional information online. All right, as an example, this is Kevin Murphy, Director of Marketing and Advertising at Pelican Products. Pelican makes cases that you carry around camera gear in, scientific gear, and things like that. So I wanted to reach out to Kevin as a prospect. I'm looking for what are non-creepy things that I can say to Kevin that I can help hopefully engage with Kevin. So I went and I read his profile online. You know, he's a marketing guru, been in the business for years. I recognize in looking at all the projects he's worked on, I mean, the guy has 6 patents. He's a member of the GoPro group, Sports Goods Intelligence, World Surf League. These are all things. Now, I can't talk to him about surfing. I can't be like, oh, hey, what's up, bro? How are the waves? I'm not a surfer. Okay, those type of salespeople get found out. You can't do things that are creepy or weird. I'm banking this information. I'm looking for a connection point. I'm looking to be relevant with him. I'm going to add people to my list as long as I can find non-creepy information about them because I need to be specific. So for example, I noticed on their LinkedIn page that they're doing some contests and promotions over at Pelican Products. That's awesome. I saw that on Facebook, they're giving away a Pelican Air 1607 case, and that's something that's awesome, something I can talk with him about. Think about this. I'm looking for things to talk with Kevin about to get him excited about having a meeting with me. So as I'm emailing him, I want to look for things where I can connect. I can see that in their news release section, I can see at the very, very top, they've got Pelican and Realtree, natural partners. So I'm immediately going to go to the Realtree site. Let's see, what does this partnership look like? See, one of the problems with getting meetings with people is that you're trying to get someone to give you a meeting about advertising. Okay, people don't want to sit down and talk about marketing. They want to talk about what they're doing, not what you want to sell them. Recognize this, friends, and jot this down as a takeaway. Most people don't mind buying things. They just don't like being sold. How about you? Do you mind buying stuff? Probably not. Most people don't mind buying things. They like to buy stuff. They just don't like being sold. Recognize, friends, that 89% of buyers, according to SAP, 89% of buyers would rather go to the dentist than talk to a salesperson. That's rough. That's why we need non-creepy information to connect with people. I want to be able to connect with Kevin. I want to be able to send him an email that says, "Hi, Kevin. Before emailing you, I was doing some research on Pelican. Love your Pelican Air Facebook contest." And maybe you say, "Love to chat with you about how I can help you promote that further." See, that's relevant to Kevin. That's specific to Kevin. I'm not reaching out and saying, "Hey, Kevin, love to sit down and talk with you about your 2019 marketing plans." Wah, wah, wah. I mean, it sounds terrible. It doesn't even sound exciting in the least bit. That's what it's all about. That's what the second step is all about. Building a top 20 list, including non-creepy research that you're going to put in the notes of your CRM tool. So when you're prospecting these people and reaching out to them by a phone and via email, that you have something to talk with them about. All right, here's what we're going to do. Let's take a quick break. I want you to be able to absorb that, and we're going to move on to part number 3, step number 3 here in our second part of getting the meeting.